Good morning, Marc.
Good morning, Park. We are GMZ. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Dex and that was Mark.
You nearly forgot who we were. You was like,
I did. I couldn't remember how the fuck we used to do it.
I know. It's all coming back to us. So this is an unusual one. We haven't recorded a podcast for ages. We didn't really have a lot to say. There's a lot going on in real life and stuff. And now, obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic with the COVID-19.
An actual real-life pandemic.
An actual real-life pandemic. And normally, we would obviously been the first people to talk about this. But meanwhile, the rest of the universe has started a podcast. And us, who've had a podcast for 3 years, have not been recording. So
no, we've been a bit lazy, haven't we?
Think it's best to remedy that right now. And
because how long have we been on lockdown now? Has it been like 3 weeks?
3 weeks. It feels like about 4,000 years.
It does feel about 4,000 years.
Yeah, it's I can't. 3 weeks ago, almost exactly 3 weeks ago, I closed my shop down, and it hasn't been open to the public since, which has been very, very frustrating.
So you have just been sitting on your ass eating Jaffa cakes for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's literally all I've done. I've read 6 books, large books too, and large books, and the only piece of DIY I've done is change one tap. That's all I did.
See, Simon's got a list as long as his arm that he wants to get done over the next, week of him self-isolating. And over the last 8 days, he has done, I think, 2 of the jobs on there.
Yeah, he's one up on me. Hats off to the man. I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's hard to motivate yourself, and I think with everything going on in the world, it's hard to actually get yourself going in some sort of rhythm. You're very distracted, easily distracted.
Yeah, and you can't just nip out for supplies either, can you?
No.
If you need an extra set of screws, you can't just nip to B&Q because it's not classed as essential anymore.
It's not safe. No. So Bex, I think we need to address the most important topic of discussion.
Okay.
You have had the COVID-19.
I have.
You work in the NHS and you have had it. So how are you now?
Fine, I'm okay. Still, as you can hear from my voice is still a little bit iffy, and I cannot taste or smell a thing.
Really?
Honestly, it is the weirdest thing. I said to Simon that he could serve me shit on toast, tell me it was Nutella, and I'd eat it, and I'd not know.
Oh wow, is that?
You know when you have a cold, and you can't really taste much, but you can still taste stuff.
Yeah.
This is like nothing. I cannot taste anything.
That is very bizarre. So, what are the symptoms? I mean, how did it start for you? How did you how did you guess that you had it?
I didn't think I had it, to be honest. I started off with a temperature and a headache. I don't get temperatures even when I'm ill. Like I suffer with tonsillitis a lot. I never ever get temperatures, so I knew something was up. So I phoned in sick for work, but I didn't have a cough on the first day at all. It was just a headache. And then the next day I kind of developed a bit of a not even much of a cough, like just clearing my throat really. But work phoned me up and they said, since you've had a temperature, we'll test you. Come down to this testing facility and we'll swab you. So I went down on the Saturday and they shoved this swab right down your throat. And then they shove it up both nostrils.
Oh really? I haven't seen. I've seen him put it down the throat, but I didn't know it went up the nostrils as well. Yeah,
same swab.
Oh.
Throat and nostrils.
Oh my god.
Luckily they do it the throat way round first.
Yeah. Oh my god.
No bogies at the back of your throat.
No.
But yeah, it wasn't pleasant at all, and I feel, because obviously I swab a lot of people at work, and now I feel like I can sympathise with people.
Yeah. I mean, did you gag? Did you gag when they put it down the back of your throat?
I gagged hard. I gagged hard. And that's when my cough started, really. I think they set off my cough.
Yeah. So, and then what happened? How did you feel after that?
Fine, I came back home, got back into bed, because I was trying to keep myself in one room, try and limit the spread from throughout the house, try and keep Lucan and Simon a bit safer from it, just in case. And I didn't think I had it because I didn't feel that ill. I felt like I was faking a little bit, to be honest, but I thought, no, I'll wait for the swab to come back. And then the swab came back positive, and I was like, really? You sure you didn't just mix it up with somebody else's? But no, apparently not. So
so that's the wonder of being in lockdown, is that kids can walk in at any time and
Yeah, kids can walk in at any time and get ambulances that they've not played with for a year.
Yeah.
And just ruin my moment. Where was I? And then so on that day, so that was Monday when I got the swab back. That's when my cough really started.
Yeah.
And I was quite short of breath, like walking up the stairs. I was like, felt like a fat bird running to get some cake.
Was you a bit worried at that point? I mean, was you a little bit scared?
No, it was a bit bizarre because I thought to myself, well, if I was going to be seriously ill, I would be ill by now.
Yeah.
Because it was day 3. Yeah, day 3 when I got my swab results back. So that's about the time where people start to get pretty seriously poorly, and that wasn't happening for me. So I wasn't that worried. I just presumed that I'm having mild symptoms, and that was it. So I've been absolutely shattered. I've been really, really, really tired. Like, I hung some washing out yesterday and had to have a nap afterwards. But no, it's getting better. I've managed to not have a nap today, so that's a bonus. I'm back to work tomorrow.
And you're back to work, and you'll be back working with COVID patients, I assume. Yeah,
but at least now, I've got some kind of immunity, so I suppose I can't really be scared anymore.
No. Do you I mean, while you've been at work, have you been dealing with a lot of COVID patients over the last few weeks previous to you getting it?
Yeah, I was, for the first couple of weeks, I wasn't really, I was just on my normal ward, but then the admissions to hospital for un-COVID related things dropped so much that our unit wasn't really, it wasn't doing anything, to be honest. We were all just standing around.
Yeah.
So my team started to cover the COVID-postive wards.
Yeah.
So I've been working with the positive patients, and we've got plenty of PPE. We've got plenty of masks and aprons and gloves and things. We're not short of anything. So I'm presuming either I've picked it up on the bus, or maybe I've touched something that's had it on, and I don't know. You just don't know.
So, I mean, in your job where you've been in the COVID positive wards, what's the feeling been? I mean, do you feel like it's been stressful and it's like a Saturday night when everybody's been out to the clubs, or is it sort of relatively calmer than that?
Yeah, it's been a bit crazy just because they've had to pull so many other staff from other areas. Yep. So because you're not used to working in this you're used to working in your own team, and you're used to working with your own team dynamics, and then to be pulled out and put into another team where you don't really know anyone and you don't know the process, because it's all new, and we still don't really know what's going on fully. Yeah. And that's the more stressful part of it, is that you don't know what's happening really. It's out of your scope of practice. You're used to one thing and you're being then thrown into another area where you don't really know as much. You've not got the knowledge, shall we say. So
you're out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But not out of your comfort zone.
But not necessarily run off your feet like A&E on a Saturday night.
I mean, it's busy, but I'm used to being busy because I work on an acute medical unit anyway. So I'm used to people coming in, people leaving, in out, people getting really sick. It's neither here nor there for me. It's like your bread and butter.
It's like your bread and butter. So you're going back to work.
I am.
Are you a little bit apprehensive, or a little bit, because you don't know what's changed in those last 2 weeks that you've had it? Do you?
No. I've been keeping in touch with my team, so I know some of the things that have been going on. I think our unit's now changed into like a little mini A&E, which we're staffing now. So I'm not sure what I'll walk into when I go back tomorrow, but we shall see. Yeah,
and what's your shift tomorrow? 10 hours?
Oh, I'm on a long day, so I'm on 7:30 till 8.
Wow. So you've had COVID, you're literally on the day one back to work, 10-hour, 12-hour shift or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, not? That's pretty. I know we're all doing this clap for heroes on a Thursday night, but I think that's a pretty heroic thing to do. I mean, I would think twice if it were me. So I think it's a very brave and I think it's a courageous thing to do. To go back.
Well, I've already had it, so that's the worst that could have happened.
Yeah. I must admit, people who work in the NHS, people who work in hospitals, they do tend to be the most pragmatic of people that you talk to. I guess us laymen who don't work in the medical field, we have apprehension, but you guys deal with stuff similar to this every day of the week, so you're a little bit more pragmatic than the rest of the world, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I know the general consensus between my colleagues and me was that we were all quite scared, and it was more of bringing it home than anything, to our families. It's not stopped us from doing our jobs. We've come in every day, and you have to try and be as safe as possible. So we use the PPE, we wash our hands, and we just keep our fingers crossed that we don't get sick. I suppose.
So it is very brave, very courageous. So, over the last few weeks, we've sort of had a developing situation in this country, I guess around the world. I mean, it's been pretty quick. I was just looking at the timeline here. I mean, in this particular country, I know China's slightly different, but we've gone from, having our first cases, in the middle of February to the first undocumented the transmission within the UK being the end of February, and now we're middle of April, and we're at the situation we're at now. We're in sort of almost complete lockdown, 10,000 deaths. It's a pretty staggering difference in just the whole total time has been 2 months.
Yeah, it's happened quite quick, isn't it? I can only assume it's because of the logistics of the country. We're quite packed in together, especially in our cities, and the distance between cities isn't very far either. We're quite we're very built in the whole country. There's not really many rural places, I suppose. Yeah. And even the rural places are very close to major cities. Yeah. Because we're such a small country.
And I think that's something that, people don't always consider, especially the journalists when they're talking about it on TV, when they're talking about death count, talking about transmission rates, talking about testing, PPE, etc., is our population density, isn't it? I mean, we're a tiny little island. We've got 66 million people living here. And, I guess, I don't know the figures, but I guess, the population per square feet is a lot narrower than, say, Italy or, say, America, definitely, Australia, definitely, which are huge countries. So, for the type of compact nation we are, it's very difficult to go on a full lockdown and literally stop it, isn't it? I mean...
Yeah, and I know, is it New Zealand today? They've lifted their lockdown. Yeah. Or they're about to lift their lockdown, but you don't take into consideration the fact that New Zealand it's a small country, but there's hardly anyone lives there. Yeah. Compared to the UK or compared to Italy or compared to Japan or China, there's so few people per square mile. Yeah. That it's just not spread as vastly there as it has in other places.
And I think population density is something that's not really discussed enough when we talk about the spread of viruses. With London especially, I know London's been, crazy. I live in London, so it's, I've seen, the way things have changed here. But if you consider the London transport network, it has something like 100 million journeys a day on a normal day,
Yeah, I mean, because I've been to London and I've been on the Underground, and even on the non-busy periods, you're smushed in like a sardine. It's absolutely crazy. You have that many, Underground trains running every couple of minutes constantly. The ability for the virus to spread in that kind of network is astronomical, I suppose. Yeah,
I've got a question for you. I mean, you and I are talking about zombie viruses and stuff over the years, and talking about something similar to this, and obviously you being a healthcare worker. Is there anything you would do differently that the government have done to what we've done? I mean, I guess that the washing the hands, the social distancing, and all that stuff, those sort of slow stages of bringing on a lockdown. Would you have done it differently at a different rate, maybe, or done put a different step in?
I'm not sure I would have, because the decision to put a nationwide enforced lockdown is not a decision that you should be taking lightly, because it is a deprivation of your liberty, really, isn't it? It's your human rights violation. You can as a human, you're allowed to go out and do whatever you please, like within the realms of the law. So I understand putting the country on a full lockdown is quite a serious thing to consider. And I think you have to see if other methods, less extreme methods, work.
Yeah.
Before you decide to completely lock down the whole country. But I mean, maybe I am wrong, and maybe the government was wrong. Maybe they should have done it sooner. Maybe they should have looked at places like Italy and China and thought, well, actually, this is going to spread the same here. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It is. And personally, and I don't have the experience you do, but personally, I would say the only thing I would have done differently with that lockdown would have come maybe 3 days earlier, 4 days earlier, before that weekend. They announced it on the Tuesday, I believe. I actually closed my shop on the Monday, didn't I? Because what happened in my shop over that weekend...
Everyone cancelled it, didn't... Everyone cancelled the weddings on you, didn't they?
Yeah, and the people that came to the shop didn't care. You know, they just they were there, and we were cleaning everything as quick as we could. We had all our Saturday lads cleaning all the surfaces, and we had gloves, and we was washing our hands. But the customers who were coming in didn't have the same regard for the seriousness of the situation. And I remember I said to you on that Saturday, "This is ridiculous. We can't carry on like this."
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, maybe people are quick to say, oh, the government didn't do enough on time, but they did say that you should really only go out if absolute necessary, and you should avoid, you know, parks, pubs, restaurants, places like that, and people didn't.
No,
so
they
you've
didn't.
got to place certain portion of blame on the British public themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they said on the Friday that they're going to close the pubs down. And then on the Friday night in my town, all the pubs were busy because it was their last night to have the pubs. The weather was okay, so everybody went out to the pubs, and the pubs were busy that Friday night. They were busy again on the Saturday. They actually had sporting events on the Saturday, didn't they? Which is, you know, was famously picked up by the press. And I think that's the only thing I would have done differently. Is rather than lock down on the Tuesday, I would have locked down maybe before the weekend, maybe on the Friday. And to a certain extent, I mean, I guess they was putting their faith in the general public to listen to the advice and do what they were being told.
Yeah, that was stupid.
And hoping that companies like myself and like, you know, the people running the sport events and the pubs would take responsibility themselves and close the door. But obviously, everybody needs to make a living, don't they? Everybody needs to earn their wages. So I guess everybody kind of took the attitude I did. Well, one more day, you know, and hope that you can take a little bit more revenue. But in the end, it become unsustainable. It just wasn't practical thing to keep the businesses open. It's an interesting one because I think, you know, when this is all over and we look back at this and we compare countries of how they've handled it and what they handled, you know, what their procedures were, I don't actually think there's going to be a huge amount in it. I think small details like that, maybe we could have done that 2 days earlier, maybe we could have done that, and I think small details will make the difference. Looking at the rate of the spread, and I was researching it before we come to this podcast, I was looking at the rate of spread of this virus. I honestly don't think there was a way to stop it. I really don't.
Well, it'll be 3 weeks on Tuesday, won't it? And to be fair, the numbers have gone, they are plateauing now, but they're not decreasing.
No.
The infection rate is staying the same or going up.
Yeah.
It's kind of up, down, you know, just very small waves, shall we say. I check it every day, to be honest, because I like to keep an eye on, you know, how many cases there are. And then now they've started testing key workers as well. It's going to jump up.
Yeah.
So it looks like, I mean, lockdown's not really working as of yet anyway.
No, well, I mean, lockdown's about slowing the spread, isn't it? There's nothing can stop the spread. I mean, I guess that's something that we're 3 weeks into lockdown. We're looking at what can we change. You know, what can we start opening? Where are the positives? You know, where are the negatives? And we're looking at all this stuff. But really and truthfully, right from the beginning, the government did tell us this, you know, you can't stop this thing. It's about slowing it down so that the hospitals can cope. And in the same time we're slowing it down, we're building up hospital capacity. So building the Nightingale, building these other hospitals in Manchester and Birmingham. So we've got more critical care beds. At the moment,
well, that's the point, isn't it? Then they can relax the lockdown, and then just when the hospitals start to get overwhelmed again, they can lock it down again, and it's that ebb and flow, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think they are still relying on some kind of herd immunity by going forward like that.
Yeah, I mean, herd immunity, right, okay. So this is a complicated one. I've been researching this for 3 days.
Oh, you've been researching
right.
it?
So herd immunity essentially applies to a disease that's got a vaccine, okay? You get enough people with the vaccine, that gives you a herd immunity. You need something like 80% of people vaccinated, don't you? If you get a weird and unusual disease, if everybody, if all the people you come into contact with are immune, they have a vaccine, then it can't spread. It's just going to die out with that one person. Now, the idea with this is because there is no vaccine and the likelihood of
herd immunity,
natural herd immunity. So, as of the middle of February, the World Health Organization and a couple of other organizations said that there would be no vaccine available to the world for 12 to 18 months. Okay, yep. So that would literally decimate every country in the world that's got this. If you let the disease run rampant, you're gonna have whatever it is, 1% of the population dying. But more importantly, you're gonna have 30% of people in critical care beds, which is the important part.
And the hospitals can't cope.
And the hospital can't cope because obviously if you've got 30% of the population with critical care beds, then you've got, someone falls off their bike, can't have treatment, and millions of people die because obviously the hospitals can't cope.
So I suppose you need to titrate the herd immunity then, don't you? So you start off with, say, trying to get 20% of people immune by infection. And then when the hospitals can't cope, you obviously pull it back and go into lockdown, and then you start to release the lockdown. Say 40% of people then are immune because they've got the virus or they're getting the virus, but then the hospitals start to get overwhelmed and you tighten the lockdown. So it's that kind of wave where you push forward and you pull back, and you have to do that sensibly so that the hospitals don't get overwhelmed.
And at the same time, build up your ability to deal with a large amount of critical care beds. So if you're building them up at the same time, then as you're releasing the legislation and letting people out, you're releasing lockdown, and then you can tighten it back up and then release it. Like you said, it's a titration. But the important part that obviously with herd immunity is we don't know if that works naturally. No one knows.
No one knows. No, we've not had to deal with anything like this before, really. Even when we've had kind of epidemics with SARS and MERS and things like that, the spread has been really quite contained if you look at the figures.
Well, the last sort of incident that people quote when they talk about herd immunity, natural herd immunity, is 1918 Spanish flu.
Oh yeah.
But the difference with Spanish flu was we had 2 waves. So you had the initial wave which killed millions, and then you had it went away as quick as it came. Because obviously everybody who had it died, and people weren't travelling around as much, so people in the vicinity died, and then it came back as people started to travel around again, and then it went away by itself. That's what we call herd immunity.
Because the initial people who survived the first wave were then immune, so that the second wave didn't decimate the countries as much as the first wave did.
Yeah. And I guess that's what we're trying to achieve, but without the death toll of Spanish flu, which killed millions.
I mean, 1918, 2020, we're kind of medically a little bit more advanced, I would hope.
And I think to a certain extent we have to, without getting political, because we can talk about the politics of this until we're blue in the face. We could we could talk about austerity for the last 10 years. We can talk about gold reserves going back further 20 years. We could talk about all sorts. But without getting political, we have to trust the people at the top of the medical tree. Maybe not the politicians. You don't have to trust politicians. That's it's famous for not being trusted. But you have to trust the chief medical officer, the chief science officer, and
because they're the people with the actual degrees and the actual relevant knowledge to advise the government.
I don't believe for a minute that a chief medical officer, a chief science officer, or the head of nursing, who is sometimes on the podium, or would stand there alongside a politician and tell a lie. I don't believe for a minute that they would ethically be able to stand there and tell a lie. That's not to
I'd hope not.
That's not to say they wouldn't not tell you the whole truth, because
because you can't really go, listen guys, you're all gonna die.
Exactly, you can't say that. And that was the danger with the herd immunity. When that phrase got out into the public domain, people were like...
Everyone started having a shit fit.
Of course, no one wants their loved one who, has got cancer or is elderly or has got, COPD or has got asthma or something. No one thinks, well, you're using my loved one as fodder to make sure everybody...
It's like collateral damage.
There's collateral damage, yeah. And nobody wants that fault because obviously, they're your loved one and that's important to you. Alternatively, the Chief Medical Officer, the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, they are making tough decisions that involve...
I wouldn't want to make those decisions.
No.
I can't even decide what underwear to put on in the morning.
Oh, well, you're fancy wearing underwear in a pandemic. I haven't worn underwear in 3 weeks. Oh dear, I must stink like to high heaven. I haven't had a bath in God knows how long.
Mate, like I said, I can't smell anything. I can't even smell myself.
Oh really? So you don't know if you stink?
I don't.
When you go to work tomorrow, they might go, "What's that funny smell around?"
I mean, I'm not washing, having a wash, having a shower. I've washed my hair today, but still, you just don't know, do you?
No, you don't. I think there is plenty of interesting stuff to talk about with COVID-19, and I think how we handle...
I find it fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, not just the virus and talking about how the government...
But it's a human nature element of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, Thursdays, when we clap the NHS, is a pretty emotional thing for me. I find it amazing. I hang out of our windows, the kids are out the front, we're all clapping. I live down a little turning, and everybody comes out with pots and pans. I had a guy with a trumpet last week come out with a trumpet.
That's amazing.
Week. Yeah, he couldn't play the trumpet.
Looks at my house when they're doing it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I guess for you it must be quite emotional, mustn't it?
Yeah, it was the first week I went out, because the first week they did it,
yeah.
So obviously it was going around on Facebook, and I'm a bit sceptical of things that go around on Facebook, because I don't actually believe them, and half the stuff isn't true, and I just thought it was, Linda down in Bag End has put this on Facebook, no one's going to take any notice of her, no one's going to do this, and then, so I was putting Luke into bed at the time, and I heard all this, commotion outside, and I'm like, what the bloody hell's that? And I was like, oh my God, people are actually doing it.
I know, it's amazing. Did you get choked up a little bit?
Yeah, it's weird because how can I explain it? It's so strange because I don't do my job to be clapped or appreciated. I'm getting all this free food and free taxi rides into work, and I don't feel like I deserve any of it, to be honest, because I'm just going in and doing what I've done for the last 14 years of my life, and I couldn't imagine doing anything different, so
yeah, I
just carry on.
Yeah, but I mean, for people like us, people who don't work in the industry, it looks exceptionally courageous, exceptionally brave to put your life on the line, to take the risk with your family. Yeah. For us, it looks, we couldn't imagine doing it, so we appreciate it.
It's such a bizarre thing for me to hear people say that. It's really weird.
Well, we mean it. So we'll be out again Thursday clapping Bex. I'm going to get a Bex t-shirt to wear out the street next week. I'm going to get your face on a t-shirt.
Get my face on it.
On a t-shirt. I think...
Sorry, that's really funny.
I'm going to say do that. So I think once we're once you've got back into your new schedule at work, we should start recording regular podcasts, and we should talk our way through this pandemic. I think we have lots of subjects to talk about.
We do, and we can make it a bit more funny. It's been a bit serious tonight.
It has.
It's not been the normal funny GMZ.
It hasn't been comedy and dicks and vibrators and stuff, but they'll be back. Don't worry. But we just needed to get the serious shit out of the way. We did, because we got to talk. It's happening. We need to talk about what's happening. I think what we need to talk about next time, and we need to make room for this, is all these conspiracy theories going around. What you said about Facebook.
Tin hat twats.
Yeah. Do you know we'll talk about this properly next time, but they burnt down a mobile phone mast around the corner from me here, so my phone signal doesn't work properly. Because of
and it wasn't even a 5G one, was it?
It was a normal fucking phone mast. They burnt it down.
So that's just amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
and that's what I'm saying about humanity, just the different sides of it. You've got people who are rebelling and going, "I ain't gonna fucking happen to me."
Yeah.
And then you got people burning down fucking 4G masts.
Yeah. I think we need to debunk some conspiracy theories next week. That's what we're debunking. So whenever your schedule is, you know your new rota, then we shall get our heads together, get a time, and we'll do a debunking episode where we debunk.
Well, I'm off next Sunday, so if you want to do same again next Sunday, that's fine with me.
Let's do it. Okay, Bex, it's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah, man.
How do we end the podcast? How do we normally do that?
Well, the government has ripped off half of our catchphrase.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? And it's weird, isn't it? Because we've been doing podcasts for years. Now everybody does a podcast. Everybody does a video live stream. Everybody's videoing themselves washing their fucking hands or doing a handstand or whatever. And we're just like, oh, we've done all that. That seems a bit overkill.
We're old school.
We're old school.
Everyone's on this TikTok now. Maybe we need to get on this TikTok.
It sounds too young and trendy for me. I'm not having it.
Does sound young and trendy.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my podcast. It's like an old-fashioned radio show. It's like the old wireless. I think that's what we need in this time of crisis. We need a bit of a comforting voice on the wireless.
I don't think my voice is comforting.
It's comforting for me. Slightest. It's comforting for me. Right, Bex, it's been lovely talking to you. As I said, you are my role model, my hero, and you are very brave and very courageous, and we shall all clap you at GMZ on Thursday.
I shall take a bow.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.